We have great pleasure because we have in our studios a renowned cartoonist R.K. Laxman. Our listeners will be very happy to have some experiences shared with you. The first of all, we would like to know your childhood impressions. What have made you a person of such a stature at present?
My childhood impressions of what? Of my surroundings or my...
Yeah, your surroundings, your family background.
Luckily, I had parents and elders at home who did not stand in my way of becoming whatever I decided. And I decided to be a cartoonist way back when I was hardly 10 years old. Because from the age of 3 or 4, I was able to draw better than the next child.
What was your father, sir? Are
He was
there
in
any
the-
traces of your
No,
profession?
actually my own family, there are not many artists at all. I'm the only one. But they all were artistically inclined, if I may say so. They loved books and music and so on. I didn't follow anybody in the family or anybody outside the family to become an artist. It was in me. I was born so.
What is the essence of a good cartoon according to you? It is very difficult to define, I know, but out of experience and as an artist, you may elaborate.
What is the elements of quality in music, in literature, in art? Same goes for cartooning also. It is not possible, as you very rightly said, define it. A good cartoon is a good cartoon, and bad one is bad. So the decision is taken by the spectator.
But still, sir, there would be some factors because the lines, then
Yes,
the idea behind it, then the
that is,
imagination of the artist.
You see, the question of a cartoon is not the mere drawing. A cartoon is not merely a verbal expression which is carried in the captions. A cartoon complements both the writing part of it and the visual part of it. They must complement each other. But the idea is the most important thing. If it is idea is poor, however well you may draw the cartoon, it may not stand scrutiny. If the idea is good, then an indifferent drawing might carry the favorable reaction. But personally, I feel the good drawing supports a bad idea to a great extent. Nevertheless, I think an idea must be very important. Anybody can draw a man running, man jumping, man sitting at a table and so on, but I think the idea of his sitting there in context too with the surroundings or the happenings is important.
Coming to the point, you have very rightly pointed out that it's the idea behind the cartoon. Then you always say that bringing out a cartoon is a very painful process. You have to struggle a lot till the evening,
Yes.
perhaps sometimes. Then how the idea stuck to you?
There is no method, there is no rule of thumb, a trick to arrive at the idea. It has to be a new experience every day, and agonizing experience of suspense, wonder, desperation, frustration, and then you arrive at the idea. It is not, oh, I'm going to do my cartoon today, I'm confident. The moment you assure yourself you are able to do it, I don't think a cartoon will come out of that kind of attitude towards your work. Although I have worked for 43 years in Times of India, every day, even now I am rather a depressed person in the morning because I have to do my cartoon and I won't know what I'm going to do. Even if I have an idea, I don't know how I'm going to represent it. It's a painful process at the end of it.
Are there many selections, sir?
I This is all a very personal opinion. I'm not talking for all the cartoonists in the world or the nation or in the
I know.
state. It's my own, because I created my work, lifestyle, and the style of drawing and style of thinking. I do not take a pencil to the pad till the idea is completely formulated in my mind. I'm not the one to go scribble something, throw it away, scribble something, keep it, wonder whether it would be working properly when it is elaborated. So mine is one total concentration, sitting and thinking only, uninterrupted by movements of hand and visuals and so on and so forth. I suppose that don't work with others. With me it does. Perhaps another artist will say, I will go on sketching, one of them will be all right for me. Doesn't suit me. I don't want to be disturbed at all.
You have described the process of bringing out a cartoon. But still, what are the elements that make or contribute to be a good cartoonist? Because he cannot be isolated. He has to have good exposure of the news, current affairs,
That is
then
a-
the reactions of the common man.
You see, a cartoon, when it's a generic term, you can't say there is social cartoons, there are comic strips, there are film cartoons, and there are political cartoons. I have specialized in political cartoons, and perhaps a man who is social cartoonist, a man who draws about husband and wife affairs and things slipping on a banana peel, fat man talking about something else. That is a social commentary. For him, perhaps an exposure to society is not necessary.
Do you have to exert?
But a comic strip, he need not either. He has to think of only the storyline, fantasy perhaps, like Batman and Superman and so on and so forth. But a political cartoonist has to have continuous contact with the mainstream of events, current events, and must speculate on the trend the current event would take by the time he finishes his cartoon and published. He must be fully aware of the political implications in a society like ours, where I think the democratic processes are very strong. He cannot let an item of an event slip by without commenting, because it might have anti-democratic implications. He must bring it out. Therefore, he has to have a very strong political sense, not merely reading the paper, but reading between the lines of the newspaper.
Do you have to exert a little bit for that to be kept informed and aware of the news?
Yes, I
happenings?
put in several hours of reading of newspapers, which is totally boring to me, because I'm apolitical. I'm not a political animal at all. If given a chance, I would not read a newspaper. But unfortunately, my fate has been I have to read all the national papers, plus magazines which have spewed out of the press in recent times in hundreds and thousands, each one writing the same thing. Well, I have to do it because somewhere in that haystack there is a needle which I have to retrieve every day.
Now, since you have specialized in political cartoons, have you studied law to know the thin line of demarcation between political satire and defamation? Because you have to be very careful while drawing a cartoon.
It's very easy. I don't have to study law. In fact, I don't understand any legal procedure either. Defamation is an obvious thing. You can attack any public event so long as it is not personal. The rulers have chosen to expose themselves in the public, and if they go to object to defamation and so on, they should step down and quietly go back to their homes and not expose themselves. If they make silly statements, which you will of course censor or delete when I say, if they are going to make a silly statement, as they repeatedly do and keep the cartoonist busy, then they draw attention and they have to be attacked in no small way, because we have voted them into power and we pay the tax to their upkeep. And if they're going to object,
A cartoon is worth some hundreds and thousands editorials, they say. So, what is your opinion about the impact of a cartoon on the readership? Does it boost up a circulation, or if in the absence of it, will it bring down the circulation of a particular newspaper?
I think by and large, it's a matter of choice. If a good cartoonist repeatedly appears in a paper and people get accustomed to it and like it, perhaps to some extent the circulation does depend upon that. I can't claim that without it the circulation will flop. It will still continue. But a bad cartoonist may not bring down the circulation. May not, because people will just not look at it, and as we don't look at many of the advertisements for biscuit and for chocolate and for designer denim and so on, we may not look at the cartoon, that's all. Nobody forces you. How many people read the editorials? Many people, I think, just don't look at it.
Like a negative of a photograph, a person leaves, almost imprints his facial features on you, perhaps, I think. Do you have a photographic memory for that, or have you to recollect the features of a person while you draw a cartoon?
That's a very good question, because it is the face of a person as you look at it in reality, and the face of a person which carries the resemblance in a caricature which is distorted. I don't look at a face as a caricature till I need it. A man standing in front of me wanting to be caricatured, I will find it very difficult to make a caricature out of him. I might make a possible portrait of him, but certainly not a caricature. For caricature, which is the essence of the personality of the individual, one has to recall. Supposing you are thinking of your mother at this moment, you can recognize her in your mind. That face of the lady has no light and shade, no sort of color. The distance between the image and yourself is undefined. Whereas in reality, you see it at 5 feet, 6 feet, 3 feet, with light falling. All the distractions are eliminated while you recall a face and distort it. It is necessary to look at the face and forget it and then recall it. You get a better caricature. The curious part of this is, it's a mystic. A person might not have a long nose, but in the mind that might stand out. A person might not have a very sharp chin. If you put it in the caricature, it will help to bring out the personality. These are things which I don't think can easily be defined. Do this and it will be a good caricature, do that, it will be a good caricature. I have drawn many. For example, Pandit Nehru, I have repeated it on All India Radio many times over the years. So long as I put the Qadar cap on his head, somehow I felt his personality didn't come out. But by accident, one day, way back, I hadn't put it. While the drawing was still at the stage of pencil, I found it extremely clear and a good caricature of Pandit Nehru. Since then, till his death, I never used the cap on his head. In fact, once he asked me, why haven't you done it? So in front of him, I sketched and showed him, for this reason, sir. And he laughed, of course, good-humoredly. So there are things which can happen in a caricature which cannot be defined. Why so? Mrs. Gandhi's nose was, of course, not that long as I used to draw. And for Mr. V.P. Singh, I have used his cap to cover the entire face. These are come naturally. You don't strive for it. Somehow it happens.
Perhaps they speak better of the personality traits that cartoon.
That's exactly it. It brings out the essence of the person.
Figures are said to be most difficult to draw. On the contrary, your figures are so eloquent that even the lines and the smallest lines and dots, they also speak. What is the success and secret behind this?
You seem to have examined my cartoons rather closely. Anyway, it is a. I personally like to draw human figures. I became a cartoonist only after I completely became a master of drawing human beings. And I didn't become a cartoonist first and then started learning to draw later, as some of the cartoonists nowadays do. I used to, ever since I can remember, in my school days, college days, my entire time, spare time, used to be devoted to go out to the market square, sit there with the pencil and pad, and sketch the people in action. A man standing buying vegetables, a woman with a basket, a cyclist standing with one toe touching the thing, talking to his friend before he proceeds further. These things I sketched day in and day out without rubbing off or anything, but sketched the anatomy, the drapery, and the perspective. And I believed using hands, fingers, turn of the head, arms akimbo, standing and leaning against the lamppost, the policeman, all these things, the cartoonists don't try to draw at all. Particularly these days, I think they're giving up drawing altogether and heavily depend upon some sort of writing. That's how I mastered the human part of, figures, which is very difficult. But I used to paint also, watercolor, oil color, landscapes, everything on my own. But as you said, it's a joy drawing a man sitting in a chair with his leg crossed, a shoe pushed away, removed, and twiddling his toes and all that. I pay a lot of attention to these things because I think they make the drawing. People like that kind of thing.
You said you decided to be an artist at the age of 10. The age when most of the children, they don't have their own opinions even. How of all the family members you have selected a totally different career?
I really don't know that. I can't. How of all the family members you have grown only 5 feet 6 and the others are 7. This is a matter of growth condition. I don't know. I suppose the home influence was greatly there because all my brothers used to draw a little, not very well, not as good as I did, but I used to see them draw, doodle, not exactly draw. And there was a great advantage in our home because my father used to get almost every English magazine from England. After 30 days, they used to land in our house. In those days, these magazines, although I couldn't read or write at the time, contained illustrations, Punch, Tidbits, Bystander, Wild World, and several other magazines which were all profusely illustrated. Not photographs, but illustrated. I used to be fascinated by those. I suppose that to some extent influenced me.
You are very close to the common man, the character which you have created yourself. So far as his depiction in a cartoon is concerned, you can say, but not in reality. Whenever a common man desires to know you more, to meet you, to have an autograph, as most of the common man desires. So what are your reactions?
No common man would like to have my autograph. The moment the man comes and says, I am the common man, I want your autograph, I would certainly say, you are uncommon man. I don't think you need my autographs. So at that point, he eliminates himself as the common man.
But you have to shun from the public.
You have?
You have to shun from the public. You cannot mix up very easily.
I am not an easy person to mix, that's right. You see,
rents
what
you get?
happens is year after year, the sort of people who come, bringing their sons, saying he is a very good cartoonist, you must encourage him and make him sit in front of me. It was all right years ago, but later it became a bit of a bore. And that boy has no talent, I can't tell the parents, and then you keep doing it, and how to draw, that boy keeps coming. All that made me a little isolate myself from the people. And then there are elderly people who also, I can also draw sort of thing. Those things I don't know how to teach. They come for this, or out of curiosity they come, or to talk about something I must do, or people who come in droves to give me ideas which I can't stand. No, sir, I was coming in the train today, what happened was one man pushed me. That kind of, they think all this can go into a cartoon. So there are quite a few people who would like to come, God bless them, to waste my time, which I have no time for that kind of thing.
You may not have that leisure, but still you have some leisure, I
No,
suppose.
patience is more important than leisure.
What are your leisure time pursuits?
I don't. I work morning to
Vigorously.
8:30 to 6. At home I go immediately at 6:15, 6:30. I sit for work once again till 8:30 in the evening. I do freelance work also. Right now I have given 32 drawings of India. It is called Sketch India for the Tatas. It's a huge... I've traveled widely in India, sketches. They have bought it. They are going to hold exhibition in Bombay, Delhi, Bangalore, Calcutta, and Jamshedpur. Last November, I took an exhibition, similar exhibition to Muscat, Dubai. On those things I work. And I am working on a novel also, which I am going to complete by December for the Penguins. I write, I repair clocks, I'm a handyman around the house. I have no time at all for anything. I left alone, I can be by myself for hours together. I don't need... I enjoy human company, but certainly I won't be bored if I am left alone.
While you travel abroad, do you practice sketches and...
Yes, of course. I hope to do a series on China, Japan, Europe, America, Mauritius, Southeast Asia. I have traveled and sketched, and I hope to do at least 20 drawings on those.
What do you regard as your highlights of your career? Which you regard as the supreme?
I modestly feel I'm yet to achieve that height. However, there are moments which I enjoyed. For example, my conversation with T.S. Eliot, with Bertrand Russell. I met them in England. I was lucky enough and spent a lot of time with Bertrand Russell. Such a human he was. And the writers in England. And many in India. There are many great moments in my life I've thoroughly enjoyed and liked. But that was a great, exciting highlight of my life, Vagla Kitunia. It was a total story was created by me without writing, made them act without rehearsals on the spot, created the story right there, each one of them, and they acted beautifully. A director, that came naturally to me because my work as a cartoonist is nothing but a miniature direction of a film. Each cartoon can be spread out into a story. It's in a capsule as a cartoon, but it could be expanded into a theme. So that came naturally. So the Anjana Srivatsava and others acted so beautifully, understood what I wanted. In the beginning they did not. They stuck to the old habit of comedy, but I said this is not a comedy, it is a satire. So the domestic life, the children, the office, everything fell into place. 19 episodes I did, and they were all greatly appreciated.
So there are some books at your credit. Do you propose to write your autobiography?
If I wrote my autobiography, many people will be angry with me, sue for damages. My autography will attract legal action. I might write some like my brother wrote my life autobiography without going into too much detail. I might do that. Then let me finish this novel first, which I've been working on for so many years. It's about a businessman who has got a magazine called The Messenger, and a little graduate from Hyderabad joins as a sub-editor and becomes almost a person who's running the magazine, which is not a magazine which is easily produced, because he asks for articles, he puts them about culture, art, medicine, all chapters are there, he can get it. Actually, that businessman, Daya Sagar, this is only a front for his other wheeling and dealing. This boy didn't know that fellow is terribly a crook. This was a front. Writing, after some time, the characters lead you. They talk, they go. I have not become a writer, although my brother says, you write so well, why don't you? I have no time. And besides, he is such a huge figure as a writer, I would feel rather shy to stand next to him. After some time, it's exciting to see how the characters move so logically, like in life, and they start writing by themselves. You can't, it's a funny thing. My brother used to tell me, you can't just say, I'm going to make this man a terrible villain. You will find as you write, you can't just, he measures less villain, more human, it acquires human characters. Any writer who says, I'm going to make this, that, and so on, I think it's only cinema can do that, but not real literature.
Are there any ambitions left out?
Oh my God, yes. I don't want to be a cartoonist, I want to be something else, like him somewhere. All the time I feel others have a better job, and unfortunately I'm a cartoonist. I envy others. My wife always tells me, why do you say, what a lucky fellow, to anybody else I say that.
Sir, I don't think people would ever like you to cease and stop bringing out a cartoon daily. But still, if you have,
Retire.
if you propose to retire,
I want to every other minute.
what are your plans? What are your plans after retirement?
After retirement, sit down and draw cartoons, of course. I draw crows. I'm very fond of crows, about which it is almost every paper has carried my fascination for the crow. I have held exhibitions of crow. People come and buy crows from me. Even the other day, a person placed order for 2 crows, which is 40,000 rupees. Not bad.
It was indeed an interesting and engrossing experience to have such an intimate and sort of heart-to-heart talk with R.K. Laxman. I feel listeners must have enjoyed it. Thank you very much for coming to studios and sharing some time with us.